regardless of the size of the manufacturer, regardless of the industry they're in, the one common phrase that we hear over and over and over again is that the shop floor is a black hole. By that, they mean, like I send a job and I have no idea what's going on with it. Like I could try to weasel my way through the aisles and figure it out, but there's just like literally no visibility into anything that's going on. Everything we care about is give the person that's literally making your product everything they need to do that well. Give them all the information, access to alerts and things to make their job easier, and then give them resources that they can literally push a button and get someone there to solve a problem.
Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by Write For Me, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Business Ninjas. I'm here today with Kristin McLane, president at CIMx Software. Kristin, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Andrew, and we really appreciate the opportunity to speak to your listeners. We're always willing to educate a couple of people, and so excited for the opportunity.
Well, number one, I hope it's more than a couple people. Number two, I appreciate you spending some time with us on Business Ninjas. It's our pleasure. Start up by telling us a bit about your background and a bit about CIMx Software. I know you've been there for quite some time now.
Yeah, so my background, getting out of college, probably pretty typical. I had zero idea what I wanted to do with that fabulous degree. So I dipped my toe in the water of some high-tech stuff back in the early 90s. That was something, right? Not so big today, but back then it was. And I actually started in banking. You would not think of banking products of the future. Back then, we were doing digital devices. There was really no internet to speak of for the average public. And we were building touch-sensitive screens to do digital banking from home. Never came to market, but boy, it was a fascinating road going down in collaboration with a company which was then called AT&T Bell Laboratories, now Lucent. Worked with them. Was fascinating work. Moved from that into just sort of an area that I wanted to get into, which was software. And that led me to beginning to work for an engineering services firm here in Cincinnati. And then we started CIMx off that. So it has been a long road. Always been in manufacturing or always been in the business end of things, never consumer end.
Gotcha. And what's CIMx's origin story? When was day one and what was the plan?
Ooh, that's fun. We started in April of 1996 on paper, but we actually started operating as a company in January of that year. There was a small software product as part of an engineering service firm that we were working for. It was a loss leader, I would call it, but it didn't really have a lot of attention. And so we decided to take that, roll it out. We bought the rights to it. And that was the beginnings of CIMx. It was, if you can imagine, it was a software product that was built on floppy disks back then, and not even the small ones, but the large ones.
Yep.
Yep. And it was delivered on a VAX or DECVAX mainframe with the whole raised floor, air conditioned room, all that. And then we moved forward from there pretty quickly to designing our own first client server web enabled, then true web product.
You say large floppies. The first computer I programmed on had a cassette drive. It was a Commodore.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's a leap into the future that you're describing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no. And we had 3-ring binders that had, the user guide in it. And we shipped the whole thing in a box. It was awesome. So
fast forward to today. What are you doing? What verticals do you service? What sort of services and software do you provide?
So I'll take a step backwards to answer that. We started with the largest aerospace manufacturers in the world. The tool that we had at our fingertips was a tool that allowed them to do process planning in a digital environment. Back then, computers were so expensive that you wouldn't give it to somebody on the shop floor. It was really for the engineering team. So we worked very heavily with the engineering teams. in the largest aerospace manufacturers in the world. Fast forward through the dot-com bubble burst, and a lot of those same companies said, we've been doing business with you for a while, but we're getting pressure from above to put everything in one basket. So we'll go to an Oracle, an SAP, a Bon, one of those big players back at the time. And so we started to sort of move downstream to where we are today, which is right before COVID, gosh knows why the timing could not have been better, but right before COVID, we doubled down and made this commitment to serve small manufacturers, truly small manufacturers. We did not see any product in the marketplace to do that. So we decided to service that market, which meant our price point, the way we deliver, everything we did had to be scaled to the price point. However, unique to our industry, we have an enterprise platform. It doesn't matter what you pay for it. You still need the same level of services. So that's been the big nut for us to crack, is how to do this and be profitable. So today, to answer your verticals, again, we started in aerospace and defense. Medical device is sort of one step to the right, same type concept. So we do a bit in medical device. We've spent some time in carbon composites. So anything that is not actually making the carbon, but using the carbon composite to make parts, or very exciting things, actually, cool things. And then we've moved into some very critical areas: wire and rope harness, electrical work. We do some work in paint. Paint shops are just a crazy place if you've ever been in the paint area of a manufacturing, and industrial products, mostly discrete. So we're looking for an operator-centric manufacturer that just needs someone to help them run their shop. And that's what we do.
30 years ago, could you have imagined that every person on the shop floor would have a tiny device in their pocket, far more powerful than any of the computers that were sequestered upstairs in those plants and not given to the techs?
Oh gosh, no. I remember back then, I believe back then, a laptop, like if you wanted a truly portable laptop, was something like $2,000 or $4,000. I mean, like crazy money for the basic laptop. I remember the phones that you would carry in the suitcase, like the huge cell phone where you'd screw the antenna on the top. I remember those. So no, the cost alone back then, not even the technology, but the cost alone was something that you're like, okay, you're never going to give that to everybody because it's completely unaffordable. I don't think we realized how fast technology was going to get so cheap, right? But yeah, that alone would have prevented me from thinking that way.
Perspective is everything, because yes, it's gotten cheaper and cheaper, but we've also been convinced that everyone needs to buy $1,000 phone every year or two, which is pretty far removed from where our brains were back in the day. What are the most common problems you're solving for your clients?
It's funny. If I look back over the 30, so we're going to be 30 here in January. I know.
Nicely done.
Crazy to imagine. And I really love what we do, like 30 years later, which is crazy also. But if I were going to look back over 30 years, we have, regardless of the size of the manufacturer, regardless of the industry they're in, the one common phrase that we hear over and over and over again is that the shop floor is a black hole. And by that, they mean, like I send a job and I have no idea what's going on with it. Like I could try to weasel my way through the aisles and figure it out, but there's just like literally no visibility into anything that's going on. So I take orders and I just hope that it's coming out the other side. I don't know if it went well. I don't know if it didn't go well. I probably know that it's not on time because it's rushed by the time it gets to the end, but I don't have any impact on that. And so a lot of people will call us. And again, small manufacturers, large manufacturers also say the same thing. It's this big black hole. I have no idea what's going on there.
That's a stunning thing to hear, because when you're talking about medical devices, aerospace, the tolerances and
zero errors there. Like
and the measured error is zero, right?
Right.
Lives at stake on the other end of the equation. So the idea that there isn't granular data and oversight once the order hits the floor sounds kind of loony to a layperson like me.
I will tell you the scariest story. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but I will tell you the scariest story for me. And I always tell people that ask about my job and what I've seen, because, we learn a million things about different kinds of production. is that you might never fly again if you knew what.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Um,
La, la, la.
no, I was at an aerospace manufacturer. They manufacture ailerons, which are those parts on the wing that go in and out that allow the plane to lift. And you're walking around the shop floor, and the ailerons, I am not kidding, have 4 by 4 inch yellow sticky notes on it with what needs to happen. And I'm like, okay, like you need a system. Like that is not going to fly in air with a sticky note on it. And what happens once the sticky note doesn't stick to the thing anymore? How do you know that you did what you needed to do? But we see stuff like that all the time. Like they're doing whatever it takes to get the product out the door. That doesn't mean that they don't have high quality, but goodness, like that's a really challenging way to send an aileron or an aerospace part out the door. And then you get to audit control and they fail. And, because somebody's, the printed paper doesn't have the same revision as the thing that you're using or whatever. But yeah, that's probably the scariest that I've seen.
Yeah, I would think the losses and overruns, when that's the level of oversight, have to be massive at the end of the day. I mean, there's stuff hitting the trash heap all day because the tolerances have to be kept. But when there isn't oversight at every step,
Yeah, and if you're in an industry like carbon composites or something like that, or wire rope harness, right? When you cut a wire and you're making a harness for an aircraft, let's say, um, there's no extra in the wire. So once you cut it, if something goes wrong, that's scrap. Like there is nothing you can do with that. Carbon composite, same thing. Like you're putting this part together. If something sticks to it, or you've got dust or dirt or something that has marred the surface, it's really hard to know if you can push that into final product or if you have to pull that back and just call that scrap. And it's really what I think what manufacturers don't understand is it's not just the loss of that particular part, job, hour, second, whatever it takes you to do that, but the time it took me to do that wrong is longer probably than the time it would have taken me to do it right. So you've sacrificed that work, but it also has eaten up my time to do the thing that I could have done right in the meantime. And so my efficiency sort of takes a double hit across the board. So it's not just the scrap in the aisle, but the
Yeah.
people too.
And how is CIMx solving these problems? How are you filling in that data gap from order to fulfillment?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we're what we call an operator centric. Everything we care about is give the person that's literally making your product everything they need to do that well. Give them all the information, access to alerts and things to make their job easier, and then give them resources that they can literally push a button and get someone there to solve a problem for them, or have somebody solve a problem from them from a remote location. But literally a tool that we call it a digital production assistant, right? It's that person that you probably have. In my experience, it tends to be a quality engineer. If you don't have a system, quality engineer is a very expensive person with a lot of really, really good education. And they tend to spend their day running around putting out fires, which is not what they're best at. And so that is the person that we are relieving their workload and making sure that everybody can do what they need to do. So whether that's, sending the job through like Work Center 1 through 5, or sending it through a rework path, or scrapping it, or putting it in front of someone to approve something, to do something a little differently, all of those things. We always say that we plan for it to go right. We know it's going to go wrong, and we give you the tools for both, right? That when it goes right, it goes right. When it goes wrong, we help you with that too, because if we don't, there would just be no point in it.
Everything you're saying is so logical to me. It is bananas that this wasn't the approach that has always been in place for manufacturing. Because, I mean, theoretically, you have an idea, you patent, you design, you test, you execute at scale. And once you get to scale, it has to be done right. There has to be process and oversight, or you're just throwing darts in a windstorm. So it's a little frightening to me that you guys are saving the day for so many businesses that didn't operate that way previously.
I think that has a lot to do with size of businesses, right? There's a ton of manufacturers that are small enough that they can't afford tools like that. Remember, our tool is an enterprise tool. One of the closest competitors to us is going to be about $100K a year. They can't afford that. Like I can't afford what I would call an operations tool for $100,000 a year. Like that is not, where do I get the ROI from that? How much do you have to save me in order for me to spend 100K every year to do that? And so people lean into the tools that they have, right? Simply from a cost perspective. And that's what I said. We saw this white space in the market that nobody was servicing, that nobody was willing to do at a price point. But it does take a special team to get you there. It's not an easy feat, as we have found. It is definitely not an easy feat, or we would have figured this out years ago.
Yeah. I assume 30 years later, there is competition in your space. What differentiates CIMx? What makes you guys stand out?
Two things. I think it's the ability of our team to be there for you. We're very, very hands-on with our customers. We know our customers by name. They know us by name. They call us. I'm not going to ask you, how's the weather in, I'm sorry, where are you located and what are you doing and how do you use my product? Like they know who you are when you call. So we have a very one-to-one relationship with all of our manufacturers. That makes it really, really easy for them when they have a problem or a question. They've got a new person that needs some training, whatever it might be, to get a hold of us and to get the help that they need. And that's pretty rare in the industry, especially since COVID. We've sort of seen the death of live demos, live help, people on the end of the phone, not a bot or a system. So we're pretty unique in that we're one-to-one. All U.S. citizens as well. We do a lot of work still in the aerospace industry, and that requires us to have U.S. citizens because of some of the data that we see. So all based here. So again, you're gonna get a native speaker that can understand you, that can really help you. So that's pretty unique for us. And then I would say for us, the ability for everything is tied together. So if you have, for instance, we have a couple of areas in our product. I don't want to get into like specific product functionality, but we have a couple of areas of our product that are pretty unique. Like if you use a tool, nobody talks about tooling. Well, geez, that's something that everybody uses on the shop floor. There's a calibration dates, use by dates, retool. All of that is included in Quantum. So we assume you're going to have a tool and a person and some inventory, raw materials and WIP and all the stuff that you do that makes a shop floor. So I think for us, we've covered the entire shop floor, which is unique. But after 30 years, we've probably seen most of the shop floor. So we managed to cover it pretty well.
How have you guys told your story? We're again, because people aren't doing demos in person and they're not right in front of you, they need to know your expertise. They need to know why they should be doing business with you. What role has content played in the growth of CIMx?
It's interesting. We have always had a lot of content on our website, not for selling, but for teaching. We have a ton of it right now. You can find it in our industry area if you look by role. Lots and lots of content. At one point, we were tracking the average person was spending, this was probably about, I don't know, just before COVID. So say 5 years ago or so, the average person was spending in excess of 6 or 7 minutes on our site, which is really a lot of time. And they were reading everything. And so we see that pattern of people coming to us and using us as an educational resource for them. We blog about that all the time. We're starting an educational programming. We've got a webcast coming up this week, but we're starting an educational program in January that we're kicking off called Shop Talk, where we're going to give you access to, you just show up, you're a manufacturer, you've got access to manufacturing expertise. We're going to have guests on that can really answer questions about, how do I buy a system like this? How do I know that I need a system? So we've always focused on that educational component, not about quantum or CIMx per se, but just about the questions that you might want to ask if you're going through the process, things that you might want to know about what we call your vendor partner, right? Because you want them to be there for you. So we've tried to engage people like that through our content, and that has proved to be very meaningful for us.
I would think the ROI is immediately obvious if you don't have systems in place, and we're talking about high tolerance, well, low tolerance, I guess is this reality, highly technical, mission critical type of production, and there is no oversight. Just to institute, the granular data that you're providing, I would think that Your waste factor has to drop like a stone. Human beings have to step up because there is oversight over their shoulder in a digital
Yep.
landscape now, and there's reporting at every turn. What's
I
next for CIMx?
What's next? So I can't reveal everything. We're going to be launching a new product into the space in the first quarter of next year. That product takes another step forward in helping people who may not yet be ready to spend money on a system.
Okay.
A system like ours is going to cost you between $7,000 and $10,000 a year ish. Right, yeah. But there are still manufacturers out there who don't necessarily, maybe they're not brave enough to take that step, or they don't use a lot of products like ours. They may use like a QuickBooks for their financing, but they haven't really committed to anything for the shop floor. We are going to be putting a tool into the marketplace for that customer that wants to grow into a system later, or maybe just isn't confident enough for a DIY, which we laugh at because DIY really is scary. We want to take that in between space, right? Like DIY, I'll give you a great example because we've been talking about this a lot. DIY, you tend to try to fix a problem that you have today. So you're trying to get rid of something, right? Very seldom do they do the in-depth research to back that up and say, okay, where did I go wrong? What was going on that causes this? So I'm not solving that problem. Right. It's a doctor giving you a medicine for the symptom rather than going back to find out what's happening. When you do that and you get rid of that problem or you mask that problem, right, it's going to creep up somewhere else, right? Or something else is going to happen. And so then you literally, there's this children's book about this snail that, sort of everything he finds, he puts in his shell, and his shell just gets to be so large he can't move. It's sort of like that. Like it's just this behemoth of a thing that you just have put together. So we want to serve that person and help them out from where they are. And so we're going to be offering something really dramatically new in the new year.
I would like to think that no one in the aerospace industry is DIY, but I don't want to know.
We don't see that so much in aerospace. I would say it's a little bit more difficult in the, we do see it still with manufacturers that have what I would call controlled inventory, serialized or lot-based things that you really have to track. We still see that there, and they use their Excel sheets to, carry that cell forward, which makes me a little scared sometimes. But I would say in the aerospace industry, we don't see much DIY.
I'm just being silly.
Well, it's tempting, right? AI, let's just go to ChatGPT and see if I can build my own AI agent that could do this thing for me because I think that I have the background to do that. And I'm like, do you know what? If you've learned anything about AI, if you don't know the prompt to put in, you'll know what you're going to get on the other side, right?
My favorite saying on the subject is if you don't know what excellence looks like, AI is never going to give it to you, right? It is just a tool, has to be used with human intelligence and artistry and in the context of the subjects we're talking about, some very high level engineers have to be using it because if you're just throwing darts with AI and I got to get on your plane at the end of the day,
not feeling great about that, are we?
That's not a very comforting scenario, no.
Right, exactly. I learned something new a couple of weeks ago. We were doing some prompting work at CIMx because we use AI to do some stuff. Like everybody does. And I did not realize that the prompt box, you can literally put more information in there than you think you could.
Oh,
I figured a prompt box, like I could put a page of information. You can actually fit a Harry Potter book in the prompt box. Like that's how much information you can put in there to help you out with whatever. So it really does, when you think about that, that really does add to the complexity of things.
Absolutely. All right, look down the road a year from now. What are some things you'd like to be celebrating personally and professionally?
I'll start professionally because that's easy for me. I always have that top of mind when I'm doing things like this. So we just finished, it's in final testing. We just finished our QuickBooks integration to QuickBooks. We've had QuickBooks Desktop. We now have QuickBooks Online as well. And we've finished it and it's going to market. And by that, I mean, we'll be in the QuickBooks marketplace that we can actually take an order from QuickBooks. So in QuickBooks, you've got a million small manufacturers out there. They can take put an estimate forward, somebody approves it. We can actually pick that up the minute somebody approves it, run the job on your shop floor. And when we're done, QuickBooks will automatically write an invoice for you and put it in pending that it's done. And I'm super excited about that. we're leaning also into the NetSuite space that way. We're very familiar with the product that they use on the manufacturing shop floor, and they could use a little bit of help. So like we would like to be there as well. So if I could, at the end of 2026, say we have a healthy pipeline in the QuickBooks Online and NetSuite space, I'd be really excited about that. From a personal point of view, this year we're trying something new for strategic planning. And if I can step out of set the strategic plan for the business, I would like to do that. So I've been very involved in it for the 30 years. It seems to me like you need to have new people to get some new ideas and new directions for things. So if 2026 could be the last year that I was critical or pivotal in the strategic planning process, like, yes, that, no, not that, like, this is the way we're going, I would love to put forth a 3 to 5 year vivid vision and just have it happen. That's tough in this space. Like,
I would like to point out that you love your career path so much that your personal answer was actually a professional answer as well.
Yes, Gina. Well, I've been doing this for so long. I'm sorry.
No apology.
From a personal standpoint, at the end of 2026, so I'm a run streaker. I run every day without exception. Today is day 1095.
Whoa.
With a mile a day, at least a mile a day every day. And my big goal is the big 6. So I've done Berlin and Chicago. I'm up on 2027 to do Tokyo. I've been accepted for that. So it's hard to get into these. So next fall, I am doing the Columbus Marathon, which is just up the road from us. It's super flat. It's in the fall, so it's great weather. Yeah. It's late enough in the fall that you don't have all of the big weeks right in June, July. So you're not like sweating profusely as you're training. I would like to do a qualifying time for Boston there, which is a huge feat for me. So we'll see how that goes. So I've started training already, but we'll see how that goes. Yeah. That's my personal thing, if you wanted to be a personal thing.
A very long-standing record just dropped over the weekend for the women's New York Marathon.
New York, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And they had some excitement at New York. There was actually a gal who did the 5K, who is a farmer up in the Vermont area, I think it is, and came in the top couple. She just had a baby 6 months ago. I mean, just like crazy stuff. So I enjoy watching those too. But I am ready. Haven't qualified for New York yet. Haven't made the lottery, so I'll let you know when that happens. But I am trying to do all 6. So
Excellent.
We'll see.
Excellent. Please tell us, what's your URL? Where can people find CIMx? And what social media outlets are you using these days as well?
So we're at www.CIMx.com. We are not the radio station in Detroit, just so you know. They have a different thing, but if you search for CIMx, you may come up with a country western music station. So anyway, www.CIMx.com. We have a team that's working mostly in LinkedIn, a little bit in Instagram. We really don't do much on the Facebook side of things, with the exception of hiring. We'll use those kinds of tools for that. So we're more in the professional space. We are looking to start a LinkedIn channel for manufacturers to talk about things like that. So that's something we're working on for 2026 as well, is to maybe start our own channel on LinkedIn for people to talk and get advice, and really, irrespective of the platform that you use, help me figure out how I do this.
Kristin McLane, thank you for spending some time with us on Business Ninjas. All the best to you and yours and your lofty marathon goals, and continued success at CIMx Software.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Andrew. It's been really fun.
My pleasure. Be well.
See ya.